I think there already are two orders, world orders. And this is something that Western countries maybe took note of back in the 90s when BRICS was established. There was a bit of consternation in the United States about this, but it was very condescending. Who do they think they are, essentially? And I think that concept of a multipolar world, of other countries like those five in BRICS coming together, was something, again, dismissed and forgotten about in the Western media and from Western officials. And now it has suddenly really cropped up and surprised them. And we had this battle going on between the United States unipolarity and this emerging different system going on for a long time now. And it was a battle that came to a head with the Ukraine invasion, with the war that's going on right now. And in the response, I believe the United States wanted, and Britain wanted, this invasion to happen. But otherwise, they could not launch an economic war against Russia. You can't just put all those kinds of sanctions against a central bank, et cetera, without a cause. The information war, which we have seen explode right now, the destruction of Russian media in the United States, RT, they couldn't just shut that down without a good reason. Well, they have their reason. And of course, the proxy war, which we're seeing now, the enormous amounts of weapons that are being sent to keep the war going as long as possible. They've said that now on the record. The ultimate aim is to overthrow the government in Russia, because they would like, in my view, it's very clear, they want to go back to the days of Boris Yeltsin in the 90s, in the immediate aftermath of the fall of the Soviet Union. The former state-owned industries were asset stripped by Wall Street, who came in. The rise of oligarchs came at that time. It impoverished the Russian people, but made a lot of people in the West very, very rich. Yeltsin even objected at that time to the expansion of NATO, but he was a weak puppet. And Putin came along. I think the West thought they would be able to work with him, and I think he wanted to work with the West. But it was in the 2007 Munich Security Conference speech in which he very clearly and strongly, and stunned, I think, many of the Western officials there, said we do not accept what the United States has done in Iraq, for example. This egregious unilateral attack on a country that was not a threat to the United States. That was the new Putin. That was the Putin that the Russian people have supported. Why? Because he brought back an economic sovereignty to the country and a respect, and was really no threat to the West. Of course, he doesn't even have the military capability of being a threat, other than nuclear weapons, of course. We have now seen that the United States pushing that NATO expansion, and back in the mid-90s, Joe Biden, who was a senator then, and the Foreign Relations Committee said that if there's anything that's going to make Russia hostile to us, it will be this, and he was right. They pushed that. They did not get the Ukrainian government to implement the Minsk Accords. They rejected out of hand two treaty proposals by Russia last December, one to NATO, one to the United States, to create a new security architecture in Europe. Emmanuel Macron made some noises to understand that that's an issue, at least. It was just out of hand rejected. So they wanted the war, because if they had implemented Minsk, if they had at least negotiate with Russia over a new security arrangement based on these treaties, which could always have been changed and negotiated, then I think there would not have been this invasion. So they pushed, even the Pope has said that, the Pope.
No, go ahead.
The Pope said that NATO was barking at Russia's door. Are we going to shut down the Pope now in his free speech as well? Because you can't even say these things. And this is the most, from my point of view as a journalist, and our own website has been under attack and targeted by PayPal that shut us down, by NewsGuard that's reviewing us, NewsGuard on whose board sits Michael Hayden, who was the former CIA and NSA director, and they have contracts or they have partnerships with Pentagon and State Department. This organization is reviewing us. What we've seen is the economic war against Russia has accelerated a process, what is now the Russians and the Chinese and India, and as you say, all of Africa, the most of the world. They're part of this emerging order, and the Russians and Chinese working on a new monetary system, a new commercial system, on a new financial exchange system to replace SWIFT, for example. So we're seeing a whole new world. We're seeing a new Iron Curtain coming up, and they are going to create a world in which they cooperate, and the West is closing themselves in.